Welcome back to Cards and Comics, guys. Today I have my first mail day, an update since I got back from the National. Got the National coverage done, but this is kind of tangential in a way. Because when I'm at the National, sometimes I'll see cards that I've never seen before, and then maybe I'll look on eBay, get pricing, but also see if some are available, maybe at a cheaper price, and sometimes I'll pull a trigger while I'm at the National and pick up a card that way. Now, some of these cards are cards I already purchased that were just on transit on the way to me. But the first card here is part of a set I'm building or a run I'm building for Clemente. And I picked up one of these at the National. So I grabbed this one on eBay because I sold some cards to Leighton and I was pretty happy. Didn't get it cheap, but I felt like it was a good condition, so I paid a little bit more. But it's the 64 Cons Clemente. And I picked up the 60 at the National. So I'm up to 5. So I have 57, 60, 61, 62, and 64. So I feel really good. My 61 is at SGC being graded as we speak. It'll be a low grade. It'll probably be 3 or 4. But, I picked it up raw and graded it myself. And it's got good eye appeal, so I don't know if I'll upgrade it. It's one of those cards, or this set run has a really toughy in 58. 59 is not easy either. So the price point, even in low grade on these, is pretty tough, pretty high. But I love the set because it's just cool. And the fact that it goes so long, it goes into the 60s, like, mid 60s, late 60s. Even though those cards are not as quite as pretty, they get that red and yellow striped card, and I'm not as excited about those cards, but this card definitely is a very cool version. The color, because again, I think 64 was the first color because they were black and white until I think 64. You got the stat back. Early on, they didn't have like stat backs, they really did morph. And then eventually they came back in the 80s or 90s with like regular size cards, which kind of defeated the whole purpose of having kind of a unique card size here for a regional food set. Next up are a few cards I picked up, just to have some fun cards. I love this epic signature set from Upper Deck Legends. It's one of those sets that I've got a few of the really big cards, and I'm thinking always to try to maybe just do the full set. I do think it's probably one of the greatest sets for the 90s, insert sets for the 90s. So for autographs, it's definitely top 3 in terms of autographs. It might be number 1. The reason why, because it has like Ted Williams and Stan Musial, and I think Willie Mays is in the set. You got King Griffey Jr. So I had, great cards, both new and old. So, and the SB signature set's really good too. So there's a lot of good sets from that time period. Here is a card that I'm going to give you an update on my Barry Sanders collection pretty soon. I just went through and sorted and reholdered a bunch of them. So that and my Reggie White set are going to be, I'll go through. But here is a new card for that set. It's the 99 Pacific Kramer's Choice. By this time, the Kramer's Choice Awards had gotten to be pretty cool, and they had numbered them, so this is out of 299, which kind of ruins a little bit of the mystique of the early ones, because the early ones, we don't really know what the print runs are. They started numbering these late in the 90s, and and they had different colors, so they kind of went, really, this is like a prediction for how the hobby was going to go, right? They took kind of a case head, they kind of made parallels of it, and started numbering them, and it made them a little less special. I think about like Kabooms in downtown today, or even in Topps Heritage, where you had a couple inserts, but then they just kind of proliferated and kind of ruined the magic, because it used to be you just got you had one Kramer's Choice Award, and that was it. And of course, this is right at the end of the Pacific run anyway, but cool card for my Barry Sanders collection. Next up is a card, my first Griffey, and really excited about this card. I bought this off of someone on the Facebook, one of the Griffey Facebook groups, and it's an Epics, and it's from the second hardest to get subset of the Epic set. So this is the purple season. And so I have the orange, now I've got the purple. The emerald is the hardest to get. So this card is special because so you have play, game, season, then you have moments, and then you have all-star moments. Of all those sets, the hardest to get one for every player was supposed to be the moments. And then after that, you don't really know. Like, there's no published data on how hard play is versus season, right? But the reason why this set I know is hard, for two reasons, is pop report and just how often they sell. You do not see the emerald or the purple season Griffey very often for sale. Pop reports are very low. This came out of Zenith, the season subset. So every subset, so play, every card for Griffey could be in a different set. So the season Griffey came out of Zenith, whereas the moment Griffey came out, I believe, certified, which was never ever really issued in '98. So it came out in '98 certified, and certified never, I think, ever was issued. And every one of these that came out, for the most part, is a backdoor copy, right? So it's either from the auction, or they came on uncut sheets and people cut them up. So those probably, and again, somebody might argue with me that, oh yeah, moments sometimes, may have got pack pooled, but I don't think any of them could have, because they never released that set. Where this set got released, but it was very unpopular. 98 Zenith set was super unpopular with collectors because you had to open up the big card to get the little card. They printed it into the ground for the popularity of it. So it was very unpopular, and they printed a lot of it. So a lot of it ended up going to like MJ Holdings, or sold at retail at a super big discount, of which a lot of it I think was just thrown away when it couldn't get sold through like discount houses. Because again, it was a company that just went bankrupt. It was a set that no one really liked. It was oversized. You had to cut open cards. I mean, it's just really not popular with collectors. And so this card was in that mess. So the Zenith cards, if you have your player and he was, in that Zenith set, they're hard to get. Just across the board, you can get any player. So I think this makes this card really special. They're not numbered. No one knows how many purples are made, but the pop counts are very low. So this is cool to pick up this one. And I'm hoping to get an emerald one day, because they do exist. It's not like on the moments cards, which do exist, but we just don't know how many were actually backdoored. So it's one of those big hobby mysteries. How many of those cards actually really do exist? Is someone sitting on like 20 uncut sheets? Who knows? It's one of those like what if kind of cards. Next up is an interesting card. This is from 1999 Donruss. So this is the QB Club, and this is like a kind of parallel. So it's called from 1999 Donruss Preferred QB Club to Barry Sanders, and this one is numbered out of 150. So this is a very shiny foil card. You see the numbering on the back, 98 of 150. So I just think it's a cool looking card. It's got a little bent corner here, a little ding corner here. Not bent, but dinged. So number 10. So it's not one of those cards that you would get graded to try to get a 10, but it's just one of those Sanders cards that just look great from Donruss. It's overlooked cards like this because they're not metal or refractors, but they have a ton of foil and a very etched foil. You can see the etching there. You can see all that cool background color. So again, one of those cards that when you see it, you're like, wow, that card is so cool. Then you see it compared to like a 98 finest refractor, and then that card will outsell this card like 2 or 3 to 1. This card's actually numbered and that card's not. So just how the market is, the refractors have a huge advantage in price in the marketplace. But that means those cards are kind of undervalued, which is awesome. Next up is a 1998 card. It's a Barry Bonds. So here's a Barry Bonds 98 Topps Chrome Refractor. It's really well centered. It has a little fingernail right there. See that? It's not really creased. It's just like someone wrote their fingernail there. So got it kind of cheap. Glad, just to have it in my collection. Upgrade at some point, but just like having all these refractors. A lot of times, you can get cards like this and it's just like fun to display or have, like a set. If I'm building a set like this, these are the kind of cards, have one that's for display, one that's kind of in the set. Again, I think it's cool to have other players besides Griffey. That's why I'm super collecting kind of the 90s in general. But, Bonds is very popular in the 90s. I mean, he is, for a while I thought it was Jeter. Then I thought it was maybe Thomas. It's hardcore Bonds now. Bonds is number 2. By far, right now, he is growing and growing and growing in popularity. A lot of people think they're going to eventually let those guys in the Hall of Fame, which will help his cards, Roger Clemente, those kind of guys. There's always going to be a huge part of the hobby and the just people who don't like Bonds because of that issue. But as the more years pass, I do think the anger and just people being upset about it will go away. And then people, he was so much better than everyone else that, I think there was the, thought that if he hadn't done anything, he still would have been an amazing player. But those kind of cartoonish records he has probably definitely would have been achieved without all the help he got. But again, those are the debates that people are having. I think eventually he'll get in the Hall of Fame. I think they'll do some kind of special, like weird, like you get in, but you're not in, or you're in your own little hall of the hall, like where you're not with the rest of the players. They'll do something like that maybe at first, and eventually maybe they'll integrate him in, but I'm not sure they're going to just let him in like as is. So, but there's a lot of people speculating on that, and cards like that are just kind of fun to have, kind of 90s refractors of Bonds. Next up is a card for a set I'm building. So I am trying to get all 40 of these Star Factory limited exposure. So I picked up a few of them recently. So here's the Jim Thome. Again, off center, top to bottom. Very common. Print lines are very common. They had got the look down, but the manufacturing process definitely, Donruss didn't have it down. And by the time they did, they were bankrupt. They never issued a second set. They were going to. There was going to be a 98 limited exposure set. They issued a Frank Thomas sample card, so you could kind of see what they were going to look like. They did look cool. So it's kind of a shame we never got around to, because if they would have been able to fix some of the quality issues, such as the centering and the print lines, this card, when you see, there are cards out there that don't have those kind of issues or as near as bad as some cards. When you see a center copy without the big print lines, they are much nicer than the refractors that were being made at that time by Topps. They just are. They're double-sided. They got 2 photos. They're just a really good-looking card, and it's a shame that they couldn't get a second shot, but they went bankrupt. But we had the sample card. Now, here's one I just picked up. I really like this card a lot. It's a Deion Sanders. You don't see a lot of high-end Deion Sanders baseball inserts. He didn't make it into a ton of these kind of sets, so this is kind of cool to see 2 photos of Deion Sanders here. And again, get that print line here. This card isn't quite as off-center as the last card, but still top to bottom. And there's a thought in the hobby that if they're not off-centered with print lines, they might be backdoored. There's that kind of thought. I have no way to know that for sure. I just know a lot of them are way off-center, and that's just how it is. And this is Roger Clemente. Just mentioned him before as a Toronto Blue Jay. But obviously, if he ever got in the Hall of Fame, his cards would be worth more. I mean, he was polarizing as well, kind of a jerk. And so I'm not sure his cards would be like Nolan Ryan or someone who like Greg Maddux, who has a lot of hobby sympathy going along with him. But you can just see how great that card looks. It's just so cool. Really beautiful cards. So this puts me at, I think I'm at 18 of the 40. So I'm almost halfway there to the set. The only big card I have is the Frank Thomas. So until you get the Griffey Thomas, Bonds, and Jeter, you're pretty far away. Now I have one of the big four, so I'm 25% there. So I'm hoping to get it. It'd be one of those cool things if I could ever pull a set together. I do think someone's pulled a set like this together before. These cards were issued in packs. These are not all backdoor. This isn't like one of those sets that never ever showed up until like recently or until they found a bunch at an estate sale. But they weren't, as popular, and they've kind of got a second revival now as the Griffey is super expensive. But it's one of those sets that people do kind of hold on to them, and they're a little more expensive than other sets from that same era that aren't numbered but have a low stated print run. So it's definitely a hard set to put together, price wise, and just trying to find all 40 of them. It's just like kind of crazy. All right, next up are two cards, really special cards I bought. They're for my sets I'm building or just my player collection. First up is the big Reggie White card I kind of alluded to before the National. It's weird I picked up the PMG red while I was at the National. That was unexpected because I had this card coming in, which I thought this is going to be my next big Reggie White card, which is the Platinum Medallion PSA 9. Just love this card. Again, you can see 13 of 98, but you can see the old eBay authentication on it. So again, I definitely have picked up quite a few big, this is the PMG I just picked up, which is 7 is a pretty tough grade now that I'm seeing a bunch of them hit the eBay with the guy, that father and son selling some of their collection. A lot of 3s and 5s in that set, in that collection. So Platinum Medallion, number to 100, or number to 98 of Reggie White. A beautiful card. I'll be showing this off again when I do my Reggie White collection update along with my Barry Sanders. So that's coming up pretty quick, but this is a really cool and special card. Now, the next card is a card that until I purchased it, I never saw this card but for sale, and this card never comes up for sale either. This card, again, was listed on eBay. It was listed wrong. But a lot of views saw it. I mean, there was a view. We saw how many people saw it. There was quite a few. So we've got the 1999 Top Stars in Steel. This is the domed holographic gold. So for those who may not, know I'm building this set. I don't know anyone else who's building this set. So if you're building this set, reach out to me. I have a few doubles. But this set is incredibly hard to find, just singles up, because even at the time this set was issued, it was super expensive for the time period. This would have been like I think when I looked at it back today, it'd be like $20 a pack. So like with no autographs, no game used, just 2 insert sets. That's it. So could you imagine a set today that was issued that was $20 plus a pack? No autographs, no inserts, no rookies. Oh, sorry, and there's 2 parallels, one regular gold and then this holographic gold. This is one in every other box. So if you bought a box, you may get skunked. And I bought 2 boxes. I pulled one hollow. I pulled the Pedro. The other box I got skunked. So, and these boxes are expensive. They're about $250 to $350 a box, depending on where you can find it. So again, this is not an easy thing to do. My first thought was just open some product. You can't do that. I mean, you're going to get skunked at $300 a box. So this is just a really tough set to even find. But it's a slog to try to find more of this set. So I was super excited to see this listed. Again, the guys on Facebook said, "Hey, buddy, like there's one listed, but it's just got the wrong description." I ended up getting it for like $600, which you can't really. No one knows like what's it really worth, but they're just really ghost cards. And I think a lot of Frank Thomas collectors need this card. I don't know if there's a lot of set collectors, but for me, that's the biggest motivating factor for me was not only am I a big Frank Thomas collector, but I want this for that set. So the inside, so one of the best looking inserts. That's why I collected, because I just thought the insert set was so amazingly cool to do a set like this. And it's only been done once. So no one's ever made a set like this before or after. There was the insert finest set, I think, in Stadium Club. They had a similar, like a epoxy, it weren't exactly like this, but similar. But this is the last time I remember Topps ever did a whole parallel set like this. So it's kind of unique in that way. So that's it. That's the update. Again, some really fun big cards for my PC, my PCs. Frank Thomas, Reggie White. Be look on the lookout for my next video where I'm going to go through both my Sanders and Reggie White collections. And then I'm going to do an update video on sort of where I think we are going as a hobby, because there's a lot of stuff happening and I want to comment a little bit on it. And I've got about the most cards I've ever had at grading are right now. I did a big SGC order, so hopefully I'll have those back pretty quick the next week or so, and I can show those off. A lot of stuff I had laying around, a lot of it just PC stuff, but some of it were some pickups I had from the National that I got graded while I was there, and so they weren't in my video, so they are kind of like National pickups I'm waiting to get the grades on. So that'll be fun to share with you guys, those cards. So, all right, that's it. That's my big mail day. Probably this is it. Probably for August for a little while. And hopefully I get something REA auction coming. So that's coming up as well. So a lot of stuff happening still in the hobby. A lot of fun, even after the National. So let me know what you think, and I'll see you next time in Cards and Comics. Bye.